The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County school students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County school students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County school students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County school students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis Grizzlies and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive, successful in sports and active lifestyles is so important for girls to see, so they can just know that the sky's the limit.
I really love basketball and having fun with my friends and showing teamwork.
You guys are the next generation that's going to run the world.
It shows that girls can do anything that they put their mind to.
The best part I really enjoyed was we were just upstairs, we were dancing, having fun, laughing and playing.
Our mental health is very important. I feel like this was an opportunity to give us a mental health break.
I would also recommend this for other schools because this is such a fun opportunity and I wish I could come back.
Well, it's going to be a great day of fun and we're happy to be a part of this wonderful event.
Thank you for this opportunity and have a great day.
Girls on me, girls on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County school students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis-Shelby and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive, successful in sports and active lifestyles, is so important for girls to see, so they can just know that the sky's the limit.
I really love basketball and having fun with my friends and showing teamwork.
You guys are the next generation that's going to run the world.
It shows that girls can do anything that they put their mind to.
The best part I really enjoyed was we were just upstairs. We were dancing, having fun, laughing, and playing.
Our mental health is very important. I feel like this was an opportunity to get us a mental health break.
I would also recommend this for other schools because this is such a fun opportunity, and I wish I could come back.
Well, it's going to be a great day of fun, and we're happy to be a part of this wonderful event.
Thank you for this opportunity, and have a great day.
Girls on me, girls on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the 3rd grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond 3rd grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis-Shelby and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive, successful in sports and active lifestyles, is so important for girls to see, so they can just know that the sky's the limit.
I really love basketball and having fun with my friends and showing teamwork.
You guys are the next generation that's going to run the world.
It shows that girls can do anything that they put their mind to.
The best part I really enjoyed was we were just upstairs. We were dancing, having fun, laughing, and playing.
Our mental health is very important. I feel like this was an opportunity to get us a mental health break.
I would also recommend this for other schools because this is such a fun opportunity, and I wish I could come back.
Well, it's going to be a great day of fun, and we're happy to be a part of this wonderful event.
Thank you for this opportunity, and have a great day.
Girls on me, girls on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the 3rd grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need
Welcome to our board retreat for the Welcome to our board retreat for the Superintendent Search. We are going to do this in order. The board has business and the community respectful. We are going to do this in order and the community be respectful of the business at hand. I am Stephanie Love, representing District 3, and I am the co-chair of the Superintendent Search. Roll call.
Michelle McKissick, District 1.
Frank Johnson, District 7.
Shalia Harris, District 5. Stephanie Love, District 3.
Georgia Coleman, District 9, co-chair.
Althea Green, District 2.
Amber Hewitt Garcia, District 8.
Kevin Woods, District 4.
Good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to introduce our facilitator for the afternoon. Please forgive my voice. For almost 30 years, Tamika Hart Willington has worked to improve education outcomes and increase social and economic mobility at the local, state, and national levels. Specializing in building and managing strategic partnerships and coalitions, she founded the Hartwig Group in 2023, a consulting firm serving nonprofit, public sector, and philanthropy leaderships and organizations. Tamika has served in multiple roles, including manager director and currently as special advisor to Blue Meridian Partners, managing investments and relationships in place-based partnerships focused on social and economic mobility. In other roles, she led grant making to civil rights and equity organizations focused on education policies and advocacy. Served as vice president for regional and national education organization, and as the president and CEO of the Memphis Urban League. Tamika served 2 terms on the school board in Memphis, including a term as board president. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you none other than Ms. Tamika Hart Willington.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a deep honor to be here. It's like a deep honor to be here. I will admit there's a little PTSD seeing this day is behind me, but it is a real deep honor being here with you all today. So thank you. So I'm going to get right into it, but I'm going to beg your permission to stand. I can't talk to you and sit. So you okay if I stand? All right, thank you. And I'm going to have all kinds of junk in my hand. So, so we have some work to do. I want this to be engaging of you, right? I feel your tension. I want you to loosen that tension. That tension is good. You're going to learn to make that tension work for you. This work is hard. This work is tense, right? It is not easy. Can you hear me? And so we're going to get right to it. So do I need to, can I advance or you need to do it? Okay, thank you. So we'll go to this. So first I just want to go through the purpose, goals. We'll set some norms, some agreements here. And so purpose, we're here to align on the need. First, agree, I think you're already there, that we need a shared vision of what your next superintendent needs to be. You're going to make some decisions on clear next steps. We don't know right now what those decisions are going to be. It's going to depend on as we go, because there are multiple decisions that you'll have to make for you to determine what are your clear next steps. And then hopefully we can articulate a timeline for you to get to your ultimate goal of selecting your best superintendent. Is that okay? That sounds great? All right. So our goals, we're going to start by grounding on purpose. We're going to switch that, do the policy conversation before we get to the vision conversation, because we have someone from TSBA that's going to join virtually when we discuss the policy to make sure if there's any questions, because I'm actually not going to be legally advising you on your policy, but we will talk about it and have some support. We're going to do vision setting, and then again establish these clear next steps, which requires some decisions on multiple issues, as you know. And so we just want to organize, get our thoughts around what are those various decisions. You'll see where we're going to have some options that you will need to decide, and I think that will help you get to the next thing. I want to set real expectations about what you can do today. Arguably 3 hours is a long time, but it's really, we could spend 3 hours on just one of those bullets, right? And so I think you are in a good position to have a really rich conversation and rich thoughts and decisions about what you do next. But let's just, temper our expectations to see what you might be able to accomplish, and just be prepared. I just want to say that you might need to come together again to get to the true bottom line of where you go from here to the day you're announcing a new superintendent. Is that okay? All right. And so, no, go back a slide. So I want to, before we get started, and I want to make sure we're grounded on some norms. I put some up there that are my favorite. Just, respect, right? Shouldn't have to tell you that. We're going to respect each other. Again, I might say something you don't like. I'm going to try not to say something you don't like, but we're going to respect each other. That's the point is, again, we're going to work through these tensions. And so one way of respecting is that we're going to observe the one mic rule, right? Like one person talking at a time. That's real easy, right? And if you just burning, trying to say something, I'll see you and I'll recognize you, but let's just make sure we do that. But I really do want you to bring your authentic self, right? I know, this is the public's business, so you have to do it in front of the public, but this is still your business. And you can't get to where you need to be if you're not your authentic self. And that means what's in your heart and what's in your mind, you should bring it into this space, because that's the only way you come of one mind, and even in your disagreements, to get to where you're trying to go. That's along with just transparency and integrity of both. Be respectful, but let's put it out there when it's time to put it out there. Be honest about what you're thinking, because that's the only way you'll know where you need to go. Is there anything, another agreement, something I didn't share up there? Respect, one mic, bring your real self. Let's be transparent, and let's lead with integrity. The only other thing I'll add, we're going from here forward, right? Not interrogating all the stuff that already happened. We're going this way, right? We're going this way. So I know you're bringing that, and that's okay. You can hold that, and you can even make sure that you're working through that. But today we want to go forward. And so I want to go back a slide first, back to the title slide. All right, so you see these 3 pictures. Tell me what you see there in that first picture. Not your logo picture, the first picture. What is that? You can talk to me. All right, tug of war, right? The next picture. And the third picture. All right, that's where we want to go, right? We want to go from that tug of war to rowing together. And that rowing together, is any one person more important than the other person? Absolutely not. If one of them drops, they're going to lose that race, right? Everybody has a role. And it doesn't matter where you're sitting. You have a role, and you got to do your part. And the other one is, that hand holding, that's just saying we're together on this thing. Has nothing to do with personalities and how I feel about you. You're one corporate body, and that is arm locking in that together. All right, so I will advance. Oh, you're fine. I want you to watch this. It's about 3.5 minute video. Let's see if it works. It did not come up, but give us a second.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, they always want to put the what behind it. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm gonna show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor, can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, once you give me the version, is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now, right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
Okay, here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
All right, so of course that means I want you to think about your why. We know your what, right? You're on the school board, but I want you to think about, just for a minute, your own why. And so, are you giving that to me? So, it's the power of purpose. And so know your why. So it's just 3 prompts that I want you to quietly reflect on. I'm going to ask you to share out. It's a lot of you, so I'm going to ask you to try to do it in a minute in your share out. You're not going to share all 3 of these things, but I'm going to give you some time to think about that. So I want you to first think of the day you decided to run for school board. Like the day you said, I'm going to run for school board. What do you remember feeling? And what made you even think about running? And at that moment, what did you want to accomplish? So I'm going to run, and because of this thing. After that, I want you to take a little time to think of the day you won your election. What do you remember feeling? And then finally, I want you to think of today, like right now. What do you feel? And what do you want to accomplish? I hate to have to rush you through this. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes just to think through that. I know it's not a lot of time. We got a lot to cover, and then we'll do some share outs. That was 2 minutes. About one more. So if you're finished, we can. All right. So I want you to share a couple of thoughts. You can pick, you don't have to respond to all of those prompts, but you must give us the what you want to accomplish response. And I just drafted Renee to help me because she was the one of 3 people that I knew over there. So, so who wants to start? Like you can share whatever, but you certainly please do end in the what to accomplish. And keep in mind our time is limited, so keep it short. If I come stand next to you, that means you're talking too much, and don't be upset. Well, I don't care if you get upset. Just just move on. So, is your hand up? All right.
So I decided to run. It was March 2018 over spring break, and for years I have been working behind the scenes just through my children's schools and then going to Nashville and advocating, and I just wanted to see things be better. And so that was my motivation. My why was just simply to help students. And the day that I won, very elated, and my why is still the same. I still want to help children, but I'm very apprehensive because I feel like I've just been villainized, like no one believes that anymore. So just apprehensive about it all.
What do you want to accomplish
Today, I'm just hoping that we can come together as a board and hear each other, truly hear each other, and then just to how do we move forward to really accomplish what everyone wants to accomplish, which is select a new superintendent.
All right, thank you. Up there.
So I'll start with, think of the day you decided to run. And I was very excited. And my why was because they hadn't had an educator on the board in 5 years at that time. So I wanted to accomplish coming in as a 38-year veteran and bringing my experience and expertise to the board. So I'll go to think of the day that you won your election. I was still excited. And then it says, but right now, how do you feel? Exhausted.
Okay.
And what do you want to accomplish today? And like Michelle, I just want us to come together to move forward through board governance and select a superintendent that will be the next leader of Memphis-Shelby County Schools.
All right. Who else? Joyce, were you leaning in there? Go ahead.
Think of the day you won your election. What I remember, because I had been, first of all, I was thrilled because I had been an underdog in my race. And I had worked very, very hard to accomplish the goal because I didn't seek this. Let me say that first and foremost. This was asked of me, and I said, okay, not knowing that I would be into this. But what do you remember feeling is that the underdogs have a voice now, that people that feel like and look like me, they could have a voice, and I would do my best to speak for them, and that they could always come to me and speak with me about their feelings, and we could relay it together as a message. What do I want to accomplish? That we work together, we're better together. That we work together to get the goals that are accomplished that we have to, because this is too important. This is about my 110,000 babies.
All right. Who's next? Let's keep going. Pull your mic up. I'll keep your mic muted. Oh, it's probably, yeah, it's not on. Yeah.
Be where I am with technology. I retired from this district in 2015 after 45 years of service. And I knew a whole lot about Shelby County schools, Memphis City schools. It was not what I was pleased with when I retired. So I thought that I could make a difference by running and getting into policy-making positions to strengthen teachers in this school system, students and parents and the community. I believe that it will be through an education that we will transmit the proper culture that will change Memphis. And we cannot do that if the school district is not functioning as it should. I started teaching at the brink of integration, and I remember vividly the toils and the strife that we went through trying to integrate the school district. Now we're trying to save what we have, and we can only do that if we work together. I remember when I decided to run, it was for the purpose of what can I do now to strengthen the school district? What can I do? And that's my question still, what can I do? And I think my purpose here today, and I do hope that this school board will realize that they have the ability to elect a superintendent and move on. We do not have time to toil, to play, to fight, to have strife, but we do have time to guide this district into what I would be as success. And that will be when the board does its work by owning what it must do and bringing the best person we can here to strengthen Memphis and Shelby County schools.
Oh yeah, I want everybody to share this.
I think what made me decide to run for school board, I think first and foremost was having a elementary student in the district. I think seeing, my husband and I have a lot of privilege and have every means of helping her, and it's still really, really hard. And inequity is very deep in the district. And I think just as my orientation towards life is that there's no such thing as unsolvable problems. Like really entrenched issues don't bother me. I think we can make partnerships, find resources, and cooperate to help as many people as possible. I have a very Pollyanna view of government because I grew up in a very low income household that benefited from a lot of government. And I needed a lot of support growing up, and so I think we have the ability to deliver for kids, not just a strong education, but the supports that we need just to have access to the daily things that I know I take for granted and is easy to take for granted. I think the day I won my election, I felt an eagerness to get started. Like I'm the person who I have to throttle myself all the time. So, but I think I felt a little green on the politics, if I'm being honest. I knew there were things that I didn't know. I feel hopeful today. I feel like a responsibility for both the real and perceived missteps that we made as a board, and I feel a little regretful that I wasn't more vocal earlier about us doing what we're doing right now. And what do I want to accomplish? Is that I want to be clear on what the process looks like, what we all want, and getting a leader for kids that's going to transform the district, but like be a district that's so great that the rest of the world is like, what's Memphis doing? That's what I want.
You shouldn't have looked at me, Kevin. So seem like that means you want to go.
First of all, thanks for being here. Appreciate you taking the stage for us and helping guide us through this process. So your first question, why run? Not blowing smoke, but you were on TV a lot when I think I decided to run for a school board. And an art that you bring today, the reason I'm glad the leadership team selected you to be here, is that you've always had an art to disagree without being disagreeable. You could have knockout, drag-out debates and then walk back in the room.
Including with you. I
know. I wasn't going to share that part. But then walk back in the room and remain friends with people that you may not align around on decision-making. Because you always reminded us that everybody often have similar goals for teachers, for students. We just have different ways of getting there. And so I've always admired that about you. So at the time of choosing to run for the school district, having young children, one who just not graduated high school, but just finished her freshman year at Howard University. So appreciate, the village that's supporting her and a proud graduate. And then I have a high schooler, that's just about to wrap up her freshman year at White Station High School. The work is hard. At the time, we had I think about a $60 million budget deficit. So I thought I would bring a unique skill set around tough decision making, how you address the fiscal deficit of the district, at the same time looking out for students, teachers, and those who are working on behalf of SES. The same challenges today, advancing early literacy, early access to education, improving district facilities, as well as, once the ESSER funding is done, they cliff, how do we address that fiscal challenge knowing so many of our employees are tied to that very limited funding. So I think many of those challenges still exist. The night we won, I think it was let's get back to work, right? And I think what I would like to accomplish today, I'm glad you said that we may not get it all done, because what I would like to see us accomplish is establish our North Star. The size. Yeah, they may not. I'll say it again because there was a disagreement. I want us to establish our North Star as a district, because the person who sits in the seat and become the next superintendent should really be carrying out the vision that we set as a board. And again, another reason why I'm glad you're here today, to remind us of the power of governance, to remind us that we set the vision for the district. We determine what we want for children. And only then will we select the person who's driving out our vision for the district. So I'm excited to start that work today.
Why I ran? Because Frazier was ground zero for the experiment of education. I didn't feel like Frazier community was being represented on the school board. Parents know nothing about the school system. Think about the day you were elected. I was hot and tired. Think about what you want to accomplish today. Just like my other board members, I want to get accomplished the decision making and hire a superintendent that is going to be forward thinking and innovative and make the hard decisions. We all talk about academics, but that ain't the only thing the superintendent has to make the decision on. We are a business. We make money by our kids coming to school. That is all.
So I decided to run for school board when I was still a classroom teacher almost 10 years ago. I felt overwhelmed then, but I knew I wanted to do it, and I knew that I was called to do the work. The day I won my election, I was absolutely exhausted. I had to run a full campaign in a very competitive race in the middle of 2020, but I won, and I did feel accomplished and proud of myself because I knew that I earned my seat. Today, and what I want to accomplish, I really want to change the narrative of who we are as a board amongst ourselves and to the community, and for us to move forward better.
All right, well, mine is going to be a little bit different because I was appointed to my seat, but when I actually applied for it, I had worked in and around education for about 5 years prior. I just saw a lot of the stuff that was happening to the schools around me and to the schools that were happening in Memphis. So when the appointment came up, I applied for it thinking that I could actually, do something, to push the needle back to where it needs to be. So the day that I got the appointment, I'm just going to be honest, I was nervous, I was full of anxiety, I was, just didn't know what was coming at me. So, because as soon as I got the appointment, my phone started ringing. But at the same time, I had a sense of duty and responsibility, knowing that, I have to get in here and actually do something and not, just sit here in a seat. So today, I'm nervous, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I really want this search to be completed. I want it to be completed in the right way. I want the community to have a stake in what happens with the selection of the new superintendent. And I want to make sure that we choose the absolute best candidate for our students.
All right, thank you. So that was everybody, right? Thank you for sharing. There's a lots of, themes around coming together, actually getting clear on process. I see one to say select the superintendent. Don't think you're going to do that today, but I like that you're thinking alike and you're here to get something done, and so we'll be able to figure out what that something is. So, we're going to spend about the next 15 minutes, maybe 20, on a visioning, if you can, kind of exercise, but in a little different way. Like I will say to you, some of the things that came up around set new direction, changing narrative, vision, that's deeper work, right? That you won't fully get to today. But I try to, I'm hoping that in the next couple of minutes, few minutes, it's the beginning of that, and we see a foundation for doing that. But I would encourage you to think about where do you go from after this meeting to that deeper work, especially after you've selected your superintendent. You gotta do that deeper work. But and so in the next few slides, couple of minutes, we just want you to, we're going to kind of center on process, people. Yes, I'll call you back, Renee, when I need you again, and how we operate. for those who were here, so I think everybody but Keith, Amber, Frank, I think, and Stephanie, I don't think you were there, have seen the next 2 slides I'm going to show. And so I'm going to ask you, and you've done this exercise before, and I want you to do it again, but don't tell the answer because some of you are going to know. But it's a series of 2 slides, and I just want you to take a time. You don't have to write this out. I just, in your head, or you can write if you want to, just group these words. I want you to just think of 2 different groupings. All right, somebody got a group? I'm not going to call on the people that I know were there. Amber, I'm going to call on you now. Give me a group and tell me why. Give me a group and tell me why. But give me the words, like group the words. Okay, that's okay. Okay. Frank, I heard you say something. Give me a group. Okay. Okay. So there are innumerable groupings that can come out of this, right? Somebody could have said, you know, doll and ball and umbrella because they have double L. Somebody else could have said ball and bird and bank book because they start with B, right? Everybody's looking at the same thing, but came up with what? Completely different answers, right? Like completely different answers. Which answer was wrong? Whose answer was wrong? Everybody's answer was right. Looking at the same piece of data, right? Now, what if I had asked it this way? Group these words as follows. They have an A, they have 5 letters, they start with a C, and so on. What would have happened then? Everybody's answers would have been what? The same, right? What's the difference in the 2? What's the difference in that and this? Thought process. Say it again. You have directions, right? Like the first time, it just said group the words. No, I didn't say what that meant, right? You could have said they already grouped. I liked how they're grouped now and come up with your own grouping. But here, you had a direction. You knew what you were aiming toward, right? So think about that as you're thinking about this process that you're in, but that you need to move a bit from, all right? So I also shared when I was here, I was with you all last year, there are these 8 characteristics. I'm just pulling out 4 for today. And this is from the National School Board Association. And just for the sake of time, I'm just gonna, I highlighted some key things, but 4 things that I think guiding you right now and what you need to understand. So effective school boards, number 1, they have, well, I don't want to read it. Somebody read it for me. Who's gonna read it for me? Yep. They have strong shared beliefs and values. Now, there's a lot after that about what is possible for students, their ability to learn. You can add on with their district and all of those things. But they have strong shared beliefs and values. You don't have to answer out loud. I'm asking you as a board, do you have strong shared beliefs and values? The next one says they have a collaborative relationship with staff and the community, and they establish a strong communication structure. They lead as a united team with the superintendent, each from their respective roles. That each from their respective roles, they mean the role of the superintendent and the role of the board as a unit. And with strong collaboration and mutual trust. Lead with, as a team, mutual trust. They take part in team development and training. I'm gonna put that out, this is probably my 3rd time in front of you. I'm gonna say it again, like that is one of the most important things. Like no one, I mean, you get on the board, and when you run, you're a lay person, right? You're not, there's no professional school board until you become a school board member. And so imagine doing your professional job and no one gives you training for it, right? And so you have to think about how you want to proceed, and so that you are learning, are a learning organization. So just think about that as we're thinking through through this week. And then that was of school board members. So a school board can and should be greater than the sum of the parts of its members. But the strength of the individual members is key. So if you're not bringing your strength, you can't be a strong board can't be a strong board. But it is in your individual that comes together as a collective that make you strong. And one of the things that I say a lot, you are nobody by yourself. You actually are nobody on this board until you are sitting in a duly called meeting and 5 of y'all agree. That's really the only time that you are of any real importance to this district. So everything else is just noise. Everything else is just noise. What you think, what you feel, what you want, doesn't matter until 4 other people at least. And I dare say, if it's just 4 other people, you have to keep interrogating that, right? If it's something deep. You don't want to be like the Supreme Court 5-4 on everything, right? That's split, right? So you want to be stronger. It takes work to do that. That's called mobilization. So it's not good enough just to have good ideas or we should do this. You got to work with your board members and mobilize so that together. And imagine if everybody is bringing their all, bringing their ideas. Imagine what you can do together, because all of it's not going to go, right? Every good idea you have, someone else have ideas as well. But when you're working together, bringing your individual strength only for the collective. This is another one just for your reflection, not for you to do anything. We're not going to even share out on this one, but only focusing on you. The minute you start thinking about somebody else on this board, I want you to take it right back to you. How do you contribute to the challenges and weaknesses of this board? The minute in their head you say, well, when I did this, she or he, blah, come back to, I'm only asking about you. How do you also contribute, though, to the opportunities and strengths of the board? Again, it's something that I want you to take with you as you go through this process. I'm not asking you to call it out now. I want you to think about this. It's a level of self-awareness that you have to have as part of this, because it is frustrating. But it's no less frustrating than when you're at home. I mean, in your families, your kids and your spouse don't agree 100% with everything that you say. You can't live in a world where that's problematic. You use that for your best. So think about that every time. How do you contribute to the challenges and weakness? How do you contribute to the opportunities and strength? And even in this process, right? Again, we're not interrogating what happened, but I do want you to be honest about yourself. How did you contribute to why we're sitting here today? But I also want to commend you for sitting here today, because you could have done a number of boneheaded things and not be sitting here today. And so I want to commend you for recognizing that you needed this time together today. So just a couple of quotes that I found that I like as you lead into, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. I was writing out, just doodling one day, and it hit me. I had to write it 3 times to make sure that the words silent and listen have the same exact letters. I fell on that. I was like, how did I not know this already? And I kept writing it. I'm like, is this really? But silent and listen have the same letters. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. We often add to our pain and suffering by being overly sensitive, overreacting to minor things, and sometimes taking things too personally. One thing I do want to say about that last thing, about taking things too personally. It became my strong belief once I got on the board. No, it wasn't my strong belief, it was my dad. So I was complaining to my dad about stuff, rest his soul, and while I was on the board, and my dad said, baby girl, nobody told you to pull that ticket. Nobody want to hear how hard it is. Because before the day you ran, you were not on the school board. Before the day you were elected, nobody pushed you to do this. You chose this life. And what that meant for me is that I chose to sit up there, and for 3 minutes, twice a month, people just gonna go off on me for 3 whole minutes. And I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna take it. You know why? Because it is their right. I might not have liked it. Keith Williams can tell you how many times he came and went off on me at the school board, and then I go down in the desk and say, Keith Williams, did you have to go off on me like that? Now, can we solve our problem, friend, right? And most of the times he was always smarter than me, and so he helped me understand what he was trying to get me to understand. But that is the right, and that's part of it, right? And so I had to learn not to take it personally. People are emotional about their school system, about their children, about what's happening. And I had to really figure out, this is not personal. It's not about me. Don't mean I like it. I'm not trying to say I was some, superhero where I could just, but I did. So I'll tell you, I am one for all about the public talking to me about their business. Because you know what? When I'm running, I sure want them to let me in their church to talk to them about mine. I sure want them to let me knock on their door and tell them about mine. So I just want you to think about how when these things get hard, they're supposed to get hard. If it was easy, you know what I'm going to say, anybody could do it, right? You chose to do hard things, you can do hard things. So pay attention to that one. To solve our most difficult problems, we must radically change our thinking. And that's why I commend you again here today, to think about changing how you're thinking about how you move forward. And one of my all-time favorites, of course, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Because I know when you ran, everybody rah-rah you, and then you get elected, now they calling you, and then you can't do what everybody said, and them same folk telling you, like, I thought you were going to do blah. When you can't do everything, right? But it is the controversy that's going to come to you most, and that's the measure of you, like, where do you stand in those moments? And so, in this last, so we're going to give you a little time to reflect on this. What we're going to do after this, we're going to take it's a quick break because we're going to have the TSBA, I think is going to join us. So after this, we'll give you a quick breather, like 5 minutes, and then we're going to jump into your policy, okay? So we're going to talk about your policy. I'm going to pull out 2 pieces of it, the 2 policies, just to have you go over, but we're going to have TSBA is going to be, I don't know, Zoom, I don't know how they're chiming in case you have actual questions that you might want to ask about that, okay? But before that, as you go into your break, the 3 questions, again, that I want you to carry throughout this day and then forward is, what kind of school board do you want to be? So I started with this, with you centering on your why. I'm asking you now to think about your collective why. And then what will your legacy be as a school board? What do you want 10 years from now people to be saying about it? Now, I would tell you there's some revisionist history that's going to happen. Because when people tell me about what happened 10 years ago, I'm like, that's not what happened. But still, what is your legacy going to be? And one of the most important things, not one of the most important, the most important thing that you will do is hire a superintendent. That's the most important thing. And guess what? There is no one else in this city but the 9 of you who are even accountable, who even have any level of power to hire a superintendent. There's no one else in this city that can do that but the 9 of you. That is an awful lot of accountability, right? But you got to own up to that accountability. And you got to step into it and say, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it together. So, give you a quick break. We're going to come back really at the top. What time is it? Oh, no, not 9 minutes. That clock is wrong, right? Okay, 1:51. Okay, I can't see that. Oh, I'm looking at it wrong. So, really do just take about 5 minutes. We're going to get the TSBA on. When you come back, I think you have copies of the policies. We're going to start with the 102. 1002 and then 1003. We won't go through all of them, but those 2. All right? Any questions before you do that? All right, quick break. Be back in 5.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis-Shelby and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive, successful in sports and active lifestyles, is so important for girls to see so they can just know that the sky's the limit.
I really love basketball and having fun with my friends and showing teamwork.
You guys are the next generation that's going to run the world.
It shows that girls can do anything that they put their mind to.
The best part I really enjoyed was we were just upstairs. We were dancing, having fun, laughing, and playing.
Our mental health is very important. I feel like this was an opportunity to get us a mental health break.
I would also recommend this for other schools because this is such a fun opportunity, and I wish I could come back.
Well, it's going to be a great day of fun, and we're happy to be a part of this wonderful event.
Thank you for this opportunity, and have a great day.
Girls on me, girls on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
At our age, many of us our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis-Shelby and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive, successful in sports and active lifestyles, is so important for girls to see so they can just know that the sky's the limit.
I really love basketball and having fun with my friends and showing teamwork.
You guys are the next generation that's going to run the world.
This shows that girls can do anything that they put their mind to.
The best part I really enjoyed was we were just upstairs, we were dancing, having fun, laughing and playing.
Our mental health is very important. I feel like this was an opportunity to give us a mental health break. I would also recommend this for other schools because this is such a fun opportunity and I wish I could come back.
Well, it's going to be a great day of fun and we're happy to be a part of this wonderful event.
Thank you for this opportunity and have a great day.
Girls on me, girls on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
At our age, many of us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters. But it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
Good afternoon, can you hear me? Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat
I'm gonna get some out.
fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
Today is the 5th Annual Girls Summit. The Women's Foundation for Greater Memphis is pleased to partner once again with the Memphis-Shelby and Nike to provide a day of sports enrichment to girls in our community. 6th and 8th grade girls will have a wonderful opportunity to be with their peers and enjoy a day of fun in sports and empowerment.
You were chosen to be here because of the tremendous leadership skills you demonstrate.
And so just having that person that you can look up to, that you can see that is positive.
All right, thank you everyone. I'll bring us back. Can you hear me? Okay, so we're going to have a conversation about the policy. There are multiple policies around the superintendent selection and search for this district. I pulled out the two that I think are relevant to your conversation today, and well, not just your conversation today, but your work and your process. My intention is to go through the policy, and we'll have time for questions. I have to say, you have to let me know what's the question, like what's the sticking point about where you are on the policy. So I welcome that help, but I will also say, you know, my guidance here is your facilitator, right? I'm not legal advising or any of that, but we do have the TSBN. So can he hear me? Because I'll have him introduce himself before we get started in just his role.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben Torres. I'm the Assistant Executive Director and General Counsel here at the Tennessee School Boards Association. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yes, it was. That mic is loud. Oh, Frank is not here. So I'll go ahead and Frank, is that okay? Stephanie, go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna move forward. So in your policy 1002, and I'm sitting here so that I could see. What's the sad part is that I don't need my glasses to see here, but I can't see the screen without my glasses. So if you see me taking them on and off, that's why. So your policy, the first policy to look at is the 1002, and it's the superintendent selection and appointment procedure. And so that policy, as stated, deals with the two ways you as a board can have a superintendent. You can appoint the superintendent, right? Or you can have a selection process. And so A is all about appointment. Because that is not the process that you're in now, that's just meaning you're going to pick someone and appoint, not have multiple candidates. I do want to go directly to B. That doesn't mean that section B starts at the bottom of the first page where it says selection process. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you are not obligated to understand, you know, your own policy. But I want to direct your attention to B. And so, what B says for selection, you know, by the majority vote, the board decides to identify and appoint, other than by extension of a contract or by direct appointment. Then, in that first paragraph, the board should develop a selection process. Development of a selection process may be done as a committee of the whole, through a board committee, or use of a search firm consultant. The selection process will consist of 3 phases. The first phase is the selection process plan. The second phase is the establishment of additional qualifications criteria. And the third phase is recruitment. And so before going deep into this, I do want to make a statement about policy. So your policy is your law. It is the thing that you've decided guides your work. A board owns its policy. So a board adopts, approves, amends, or whatever its own policy, right? That is your charge. And if you're not in the practice, you should work with your policy office. One thing that we did, and again, it's not something that we knew because we were genius, we relied a lot on the staff to help us, and we had a strong policy office, and because of training, we realized we should every year review some portion of our policy handbook. So we had a calendar, and each quarter there was some pieces of the policy that we went through from beginning to end, you know, so it'd be like this quarter's HR policies, and we went through it, reviewed, decided, was this still relevant or not? So that by the end of the year, we had gone through the entire policy, and we had made the decision whether this was the policy that we want. So again, as you bring in a new superintendent, if you hadn't done that, that is a practice that you should do together with your superintendent so that you all are aware of the policy. And so you have these 3 phases. The first phase, according to this policy, is the selection phase. It's a timeline for selection, establishment of qualifications criteria, recruitment and appointment, scope of search, development of a process for receiving and reviewing applications and interviewing candidates. So I'd say that you did that. You did the first phase. You chose a search firm. You know, again, moving forward, like you have a firm, you have a process for that. Phase 2, I think you're in pieces of phase 2 and phase 3, and like that's what we need to get through and push through today. So in phase 2 of this policy is to establish additional qualifications criteria. To establish any additional qualifications criteria of the superintendent, input shall be gathered from clearly identified community members. Input may be gathered through community meetings, online surveys, or any other method deemed appropriate. Second, development of proposed additional qualifications criteria for board approval. Third, board review, input, and adoption of additional qualifications criteria. So I wanted to put a pincushion in that phase of that's described in your policy. The third phase is recruitment. And after you've done those, according to your policy, then you're advertising, receive, and review applications. So you've done that, right? You did it through a search firm. Select finalists based on approved qualifications criteria. You know, you've done that. We can put a pincushion there too. Interview and finalists, you haven't done that. So I'd say if you're reading this, where there's some stickiness, if I may, is clarity on phase 2. That's in my estimation, as I facilitate, you did 1 and you kind of jumped to pieces of 3, but this alignment you want to do is this phase 2. And so what you need to do is come back to this, and that's what today should be about, okay? Are there any questions on that? And I will take them, and I'm gonna rely on Ben, and I also want, if Ben wanted to chime in, tell him I can't see him, so he should just say, hey, Tamika's not talking to you rightly, so I will accept that. So let's come back to this though, because you can't take it outside of 1003, right? So any question or anything about that? Yes, you have to use your mic.
Maybe it's a statement. On phase 1, where it says establishment of qualifications criteria, I don't think we were as clear on that as we could have been.
Right. On the phase. Say it again.
On phase 1.
Yeah.
Where it says establishment of qualifications criteria.
Yeah. So, right, which is also part of phase 2, right? So that's what you're saying. You weren't clear on.
Well, you said we were good on phase 1. We did that.
Oh, no, some pieces of phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so the phase 1 where you decide the scope of the search, where you a process for receiving and reviewing applications. You first had a timeline for selection, right? So that's what I'm saying. So the stickiness is in that piece, the qualifications piece is what I'm saying, is where you have to think through. So then if you go to the superintendent qualifications, which is the policy that you most wanted to discuss today, I do want to just read it for the record of this retreat. So it was issued August 26, 2010. It was revised May 29, 2012. I'm asking you a serious question here. Have you revised this policy? Have you taken any action on this policy? Okay, so this is your policy. Until you change a policy, it's your policy, okay? So now let's just go through it. The purpose is to outline minimum qualifications for the superintendent. The scope, so this policy applies to the superintendent and potential candidates for the superintendent position. The policy statement, qualifications. The superintendent of schools shall be a person who meets at least the following criteria. And it says at least the following criteria. Possess experience in teaching and school administration totaling at least 10 years or some board-approved equivalent, and have an advanced degree with a concentration related to educational administration or some board-approved equivalent, and possess or be eligible for a license of qualification for a superintendent in the state of Tennessee or some board-approved equivalent. And then the sentence, other final paragraph, single sentence paragraph, the board may approve the adoption of additional superintendent qualifications criteria. So that sentence in 1003 is saying back to what the phase 2 of 1002, okay? Now, I would say, as you look at this policy, you know, and I know, and you know, I know there's all confusion and what does it say and what are you bound by? The board in 2010 and then in 2012, I think in 2012 is when the flexibility for the board came in. And that flexibility is the, and some board approved equivalent in 1, and then, or some board approved equivalent in 2, or some board approved equivalent in 3, and then as it relates back to the first one. So then my other question would be, have you established a board approved equivalent for any of these items? So then I ask you, what questions do you have on this? Because this is your policy. So I know that you're grappling with, and also this conversation is about the policy. It is not about candidates. It's about your policy to move your process forward, okay? So I want to really have the conversation. Monica, I want to make sure Ben wasn't trying to get in on anything before I move forward.
No, I've been listening. I think you're doing a good job of explaining the differences between the two policies and how they interact. I think maybe an easy way to think about how the policies interact, when you look at policy 1003, that's what I would call your minimum qualifications for a superintendent. What are your minimum qualifications? Then when I look over to your 1002, that's the additional criteria. And I like to think of it more, what are characteristics or things you're looking for in a specific candidate? So I think that's a good way of describing how the two interact with one another.
Yep. Great point. So I say if Michelle, were you getting ready to? I couldn't. Yeah, it is. I don't know what else I could say, but I'll say this first. Are there any clarifying questions? Like something like, I don't fully understand that. Is that not a probing question or a pushing question, but like a clarifying, like I really don't understand that something. Okay, well, I'm gonna come back to that. Hold your question, but yeah, you have a clarifying question? Yes.
Okay, I'm genuinely asking this question because I've expressed my interpretation to other people, and I've asked in public meeting if I am correct, and I don't know the answer to this.
Okay.
When it comes to additional, or some board approved equivalent, I'm not saying this is right, but it was my belief that we didn't actually come together and come up with 1 to 5 things that we outlined. That is, if we accepted an application, then that was equivalent to being qualified for. I didn't actually realize there was a vote we were waiting on. Is it accurate that we are supposed to come up with a list of 1 to 10 things that fit under that? Or is it, if a board accepts an application, is it a spirit, or is it an actual action that is supposed to happen? Because I think that is my interpretation of, or
that
some board approved equipment.
Was close to my question as well, that I was going to direct toward Ben Torres. Ben, this is Michelle McKissick. Just at what point would that need to have taken place, that some board approved equivalent in the process? So I think.
So I'm certainly going to ask Ben, representing TSBA, to chime in on that. So I can't answer to what point, but it still requires action. That's not passive. So even if you said the acceptance of application is the board approved, there still takes some action and not just something happened. So, I mean, it's a board approved. So that means not one person, the board had to approve whatever that equivalent would be. And so the board arguably could have said, we're going to accept applications for whatever, pick one, right?
Yep.
That's the board approved equivalent, but that still would have been on the record and board action that did that. Now, it's still your policy, is your work. The board could still move how the board wants to move. But but that still is the policy, and it will still, even if you're saying that, you still, my understanding is that there's still some action that you still have to do to get on one accord. But I think this is back to the visioning and the coming together and the moving forward that you're trying to do anyway, because so I think you're going to get there. I just said you haven't done it yet, which is why you're in this position. Kevin, and then I'll ask Ben if he would chime in on that.
Thank you. And I've said this a number of times to my colleagues throughout this process, that regardless of the commentary we hear in the community, that you shouldn't be so hard on yourself for a process that you haven't gone through before, for a policy that hadn't been updated in over a decade, for going through a selection process that hadn't been done in a decade. And so when you read the policy, which policies can be open for interpretation, which is why Ben is on the phone, and obviously Tamika and her experience. Can I call you Tamika here? Is that okay? Can I call you Tamika?
Please call me Tamika.
All right, okay.
That's my name. So.
But one of the things that was stated in policy 1002 is that during the development of a selection process, it could be done by the board of a whole. So that could be us doing it, obviously by us conducting that process. That would be action. Or you use a search firm or consultant to provide that the selection process. So when you selected and voted on a search firm, that search firm hosted community meetings and got input. That search firm then provided you a job description and said, hey, if you have any objections to this job description, let us know before the posting of this job. And then the search firm comes back with finalists. That in itself could be interpreted as approval of a process. That being said, I don't dispute that the cleanest way to approve your qualifications is through board vote. When I said at the public meeting that we own this process, that Tamika indicated earlier, only the 9 board members get to select its superintendent, then you get to say, well, we want to confirm that through a vote. Either someone qualifies or doesn't qualify. I think what this space gives us the opportunity to do, again, I stated earlier, our North Star, is clearly align around whoever's going to get that 6th vote. Having alignment around those qualifications is the best work we can do.
Ben, any comments on?
So, I'm not your board attorney. I don't represent you directly. So, you have counsel as well that you can lean on with this. But I think when you're looking at the way the policy is structured, it's a board approved equivalent. So in some form or fashion, that necessitates board action. So whether that's on the front end saying, these criteria we're going to approve, or if it's on the back end saying, we're going to have certain candidates and we're going to look at those qualifications and see if they meet those requirements, it's still some type of board action that takes place.
Thank you. Stephanie, would you ask?
Would you be opposed to having a special call meeting Tuesday?
So can I ask you to hold off on that? Let's get to the end. Let's not make that decision yet. But she put it on the table, but let's come back to that. Let's get through this conversation, because I think you got a multiple decision that you might have to make, and so do it then. But hear you loud and clear. But I say, can you hold off on that request for that? Okay. You can ask Ben. Ben, a question is coming for you.
Hey Ben, this is okay, Ben, this is Chair Green. So I think the stuck question for me was, but I think you may have answered it, was the "or" to the right of each policy. So I think the struggle was, and I think I now understand, and I think you reminded me the 1st of November that we were supposed to address this before we got into the search, and I brought it up at the board retreat. And nobody really wanted to deal with messing with a policy. But now here we are at this junction. So Dr. Schultz, our parliamentarian, was trying to help us. And he made a statement that it is possible for you to hire a superintendent. No, he said you may have to hire an employee and then you go back to deal with what that "or" should have been. What is your recommendation for us, because we're at this junction being?
As far as how to proceed, that's something that you all will have to decide as a board. I will say, when you look at the policies and the way everything works, when you look at the minimum qualifications of 1003 and then you look at the additional qualifications of 1002, it goes back to some of the things you all have been discussing today, your vision, your goals, where do you want the district to go, and then looking at those different aspects that you come up with in some type of strategic plan and saying, okay, this is what we want to accomplish, this is how we're going to look and determine that additional qualifications when you get input from the community on those goals. So as far as how you all proceed, that's up to you, but looking at the way the policies are structured, everything works together. Your plan, your belief, your vision, your policies, and it's all tied into, the superintendent selection process.
So, as a board, did we jump the gun by not giving clear directions to the search firm as to who the candidates, what the qualifications should be? Did they determine who would be qualified and who would receive applications from, or did we determine that?
What I will say is, go ahead, Ben, please, go ahead.
That I couldn't answer. That's something that you all would need to certainly talk with I know there were RFP and some other things, so I'm not even sure what was all in the RFP and what was submitted back.
So in our policy also it says the equivalency of the person must be able to certify as a superintendent. That is in policy. So that is a broader concept than saying that it has to be so specific as what we're saying now, because the person may not be certified but may be able to become certified as a superintendent, and that's what it says in policy.
Right. So again, the entire policy, each subset of that qualification give you the power to say "or equivalent," board approved equivalent. Okay. So but you have to articulate what you are defining as a board approved equivalent. It's not
that is precisely my point. So this board obviously has more say than the committee that we hired to send us candidates. Obviously has a greater responsibility.
Oh, let me clarify. The board has the sole responsibility. Now you can seek the help, you can get, and rightfully so, right? Like no way in the world you should be hiring a superintendent if you're not talking to your community, if you're not asking the community to come in with you. It should be a very open and transparent, because it's not just your superintendent, though the law requires you to hire and requires you to, evaluate. You have the fiduciary accountability for doing so. So it rests solely with you. And all I'm saying, I'm not making any value judgment about what was done before. I am thinking about what you can do forward. And I just want to clarify, it says board approved equivalent, and that requires action of the board. Because otherwise, what is the approved equivalent? Could you articulate what's the approved equivalent? And I will say this, if your approved equivalent is you're saying is coming about after your candidates, is that you leading in this is what we want versus this is what we have? And so what I'm saying, you still have some things to do, and it's coming up on 2:30. I'm almost guaranteed you're gonna need another meeting, right? Because, but I got some things that I want to get us through, because I think that I first want to make sure, does everybody understand that? Do you think you have established additional qualification criteria? Because you could also have said, we don't want additional qualification criteria.
I have a question.
This is exactly what here is right. Right, so Stephanie did, so I saw Stephanie, then Shalia, and then I come over here to Amber.
Althea, I want to clear up something that you said. It wasn't that no one wanted to address the policy. You are the board chair, and you lead the search committee along with Kevin. You didn't communicate that to us.
And so now, stop. We're not, that's not, well, we're going this way, right? Let's not even do it. Let's not do it. We're going this way. One voice, we're going this way. Okay? No, come on, Stephanie, work with me. Let's go this way. Don't do it, because we'll spend a lot of time interrogating that. I would say, for the sake of relationship, that's a meeting that you should have, and really be able to be honest so that you can move forward. But for the sake of establishing this process, can we hold off on that too? I see you side-eyeing me, but can we?
No, it's not a problem.
Okay, then I'm gonna move to Shalia. I know. So we're gonna move to Shalia, okay? I love you. Thank you, Shalia.
So, looking at the policy as it is right now, say that we never, like we said, approved any type of equivalent. So by default, should the minimum requirements automatically be what is to the left of or for 1, 2, and 3?
So we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Right now, I just want you to, I don't want you to process the policy other than, is there any misunderstanding still about
Or do
this
we,
situ-
or I guess, or do we have to vote on board approved equivalent? Like,
So,
is that a requirement?
So I'm gonna push y'all into a decision on multiple things, and what you decide is gonna answer that question for you, but we just gotta get to that. Right now, I don't want you to process now what does this mean. Only thing we're trying to get, Ben and I, is do you understand the policy and what it says and what it takes for you, that there was action for establishment of additional qualification criteria, and then there was the or some board approved equivalent. So for some people say, oh, we could have done, pick a thing, something else. The answer is yes. But when what though? You can do that when you have approved whatever that something else is. That's all I'm saying right now, is that that took action for you to say there's something else.
When you say understand, do we understand this as what we are right now in this moment? I don't, because I don't, like, do we have to choose or vote on a board approved? That's a part of me understanding the policy as it is.
Well, so I think there's a process that we can get to that could answer that question for you. Right now I'm saying the words on the paper. I'm really just asking, like, the words on the paper where it says a board approved equivalent. Is that something that's confusing, or how you get to a board? Do you think that there was a board approved equivalent that didn't take board action? To get to a board approved equivalent, let me ask you this. Who in here think you have approved a board approved equivalent? Does anybody think you have approved a board approved equivalent?
No.
While we did not approve one, though. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just talking about the policy. So you're not stuck. If we can keep moving, I'm trying to get you to where you might be able to get to something else. But I'm just saying, for where you are right now, what your policy says, even if you go ahead.
Well, I think my question earlier may be why you're seeking clarity, because when I walked in the room, I did believe there was a version of this policy through accepting, because it was woven into a rubric by a firm that we hired, that we did not have to take action. I now understand this policy between you and Mr. Torres, that without judgment of whether we should or what it would be, we have to take a vote.
Yeah.
Like, we have to decide what those things are.
Yeah, and I'm going to say you should talk to also your attorney. I would say that could have been if the board said our board approved equivalent is whatever the search firm does.
I asked this question to our attorney in an open meeting and did not get a clear response. And when they asked if I got my answer, I said no. I replied that I did not know. So I have asked this question.
But even now that we've had this conversation, I'm gonna go to.
Michelle can go first.
Yeah.
She can go first. That's it. I think we're starting to slip back into revisionist history.
Yeah, so that's what I don't want to do that. I'm just saying moving forward,
Yes.
like today.
So I just want to be on the record as stating the same thing. I think it's possible that board members could have interpreted hiring of the search firm and their process is adoption of whatever comes out of that process. And what I believe, and I think where you're trying to get us to, is that only through board action, meaning voting, and if that action is change nothing, stay where we are with everything to the left of the policy, we get to do that through board action.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
And Madam Chair.
So I want to move us from that
I want you to move forward. But I just want to publicly state I'm going to step out at 2:30 and come back.
Yeah.
So I believe what you're saying is correct. But that board-approved equivalency has to be something that also certifies with the state for certification. Because if we can't hire anybody we want to hire, the person must, the policy does say the equivalency of boards of state certification as a superintendent. So they must have at least that.
So I'm not that. I'm gonna let your attorney handle that. What that means by that, because the state policy changed too, and it's you can have a bachelor's degree and be a superintendent in
if you can get a certification.
And so I don't know the definition of that. I think that's something that still would take board action on what that equivalent is. But even in that, I would say there's so many options available to you, including saying everything we did is fine and we're done. But I want to move us because I want to get you to start thinking toward decision. And there's some things I got to skip. Were you going to say something, Joyce? Go back to that. Well, let me close this out so that can let Ben go before. So if you have a question that Ben may be able to answer.
I do have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
Joyce, you keep mentioning attorney. We as a board do not have our own separate attorney. We lean on the district's attorney, the school district, let me be clear, the school district's attorney for our questions. We need to have our own attorney as a board. Is that a yes or no?
So the general counsel for the school system is also the general counsel for the system, and you lead the system. So the way your structure is, your general counsel represents the full corporation. That's a different conversation about structure that is beyond the scope of this. There are multiple structures, but the general counsel cannot give conflicting legal, right? And so again, I don't want to legally advise you. I am not in any way giving you legal advice. You have a general counsel. You need to really speak to your the general counsel. But the general counsel, as you have structured it for the Memphis-Shelby County school system, has been appointed, and so you have a general counsel. So.
But our general counsel reports to the superintendent. Superintendent reports to the board. So how would the general counsel support us individually as a board?
So I'm gonna move from that conversation because I'm not here to legally advise on that, and you really have to talk to someone who can legally advise you on that.
Okay.
I can't give the attention on that. I can't give on that. So any other question for Ben though? Just about the policy. Okay. Thank you, Ben.
You all have a great day. Take care.
So I want to quickly go through. Oh. I'm sorry. So I had a couple activities I'm going to skip, but I just wanted to center you on a couple things. So I went to look for what statements have you made as a board that I could find in anything that says who we are, what this school system is, right? So one I found was the vision statement. Our district will be the premier school district attracting a diverse student population and effective teachers, leaders, and staff all committed to excellence. I don't know if you established this vision. I think that vision was already here when you got here, but that still is the vision. So we would have gone much deeper in it if we had the time today, but I bring you back to this, and as you're thinking about the system and what you need, is that an appropriate vision for the district? We would spend a lot more time than we have right now to do it, and again, so I say you should come back to this. The strategic initiatives, I found that in one place. I don't see it anywhere else. I found it in the legislative agenda for 2023. I didn't see it anywhere else, but I did see it there, so I wrote it here. You say the strategic initiative, some of it I summarized: strengthen early literacy and continuing literacy, recruit and retain the best district leaders and teachers in the nation, create relevant and equitable academic choices and learning environments. The reason I put that there if that is the 3 strategic initiatives that you rely on, as you are hiring a superintendent, are you thinking about those? Are you looking for someone that could do those 3 things? Are you looking for someone that can help you live into that vision? And you'll get this because you'll be able to reflect on it. We'll give you the presentation as well. So then these core values. Have you ever established core values? Because I know I know where those come from. I found this in a way, in an old document, it was Destination 2025. I believe we did those core values back in 2012. So my guess is that you haven't sat down and established core values, right? It's a process that you can do. The time that it takes to do core values, I'm not asking you to do that now, but what I will ask you to is reflect on these quickly. And we were going to do a different kind of activity where you would have gone in, but I'm going to skip some of that because we just don't have the time for it. But the core values that are there say all students can achieve at high global academic standards. All students require quality resources and supports to achieve high levels of success. Effective teachers and school leaders are essential to high student achievement. Strong public support and community partnerships are essential for all students to excel. Our school system can be a high-performing, accountable, and transparent organization. Now, because those were the core values that were set, until you change them, guess what? Those are the core values of the school system. So if you've never manipulated them, navigated with them, you should live with these and either adopt them or change them or say this no longer. Again, great exercise with when you have your new superintendent, but as you're thinking about where you go from here, is that valid and does that matter and who you decide? And so we were going to do an activity. I'm going to come back to a piece of that. Well, no, I do need you to take out your phone because I need you to go to that page because I'm going to have you answer. I'm going to skip some of the questions that were at the bottom. Can you actually go to it too?
Tamika, while we were doing that, the 3 initiatives that you had up there and those core values, that's currently inside of our academic framework booklets.
Okay.
That's current academic framework.
Okay, perfect. Because that's where I found it in different documents. So.
And those 3 initiatives, everything in that academic framework book, everything is tied back to those 3 initiatives, which include those goals.
Okay, so what we were going to do, and I'm going to get over here. I was going to have you go through those core values and respond as such, like, does this still make, yes, no, needs work? But I'm going to skip ahead because, let me see, can I skip ahead? Oh, I might not. I actually need you to do this real quick because I can't skip it ahead. You can get to, they need to see the Is it working? Did it come up? Okay. Yeah, I'll go. So go ahead and answer those core value ones. Let me see. But you know what? I have to log in, I think. Excuse me, y'all. Bear with me. It might not work. So did you all respond? Okay, so I'm gonna. Did it pop up? Oh, it's not. Did it go? It moved. Okay. But it didn't show. Did it show results to y'all though? It didn't show me results though. Yeah. So don't worry about it because it didn't show me the results either, and so it's probably in translation. So I'm going to go. Yeah, it's having some issues. So what we were going to do is, I was going to be able to get your reaction to those core values at least, right? Not have you go through a whole process of core values, but get your reaction to those core values. You can go back to the other slide. But I do know that you came in here with 2 questions. Renee, I think I might need you again. You came in here with 2 questions. Well, with 1 question at least, around what do you think, what were your 3 top? I want you to, spend a few minutes first though on, for you as individual, and then we'll do a quick share out. Yeah, don't worry about the all slides. I couldn't get it to work. For you, what are the top 3 issues facing the system in the next 4 years? What are the top 3 issues facing the system in the next 4 years? Facing the school system in the next 4 years from your purview. I got to push us along because I won't be able to. You can write it first. Y'all don't need to write it. Y'all ready? Okay. Real quick. Got to be real quick so we don't have a lot of time. So I'm gonna go, and maybe you don't have to. If you can give your 3 real quick, do it. If it's 3 paragraphs, we got to move. But Stephanie, 3 issues.
Money, academics, and charter schools.
Okay. All right. Popcorn. Who's gonna go next? And try to don't get into group thing. That's why I was gonna have you do that because it wouldn't have been up there. So. Okay, that's fine.
The budget drop off of the extra dollars, the reading plus the 3rd grade commitment, students and the impact of the
Okay. 3rd grade. Wait, just a second. I'm getting. Oh, she just did 2. Yeah. Okay, Keith. Okay. Leadership. Okay.
I just had 1 in addition to all of that. Sustainability.
Of the
everything.
Okay. So give us a second, and that was Keith up there, right? Amber, were you going to say something?
As I say, literacy, the new funding formula, TISA, and wraparound supports for students.
Go ahead, Frank, and then up here.
Okay, so I said third grade retention, condition, cleanliness of the schools, money.
3rd grade retention. What was the second one?
3rd grade retention, condition of the school.
Oh, condition of the school facilities. Yes. Okay.
Money.
You ready, Joyce?
I said lack of educators, parental support, and security.
Okay. What was the first one on educators?
Lack of educators.
Lack of it. Okay. Shortage. Okay. Out there.
I said academics, we're just out being real specific, but it's
okay.
A whole lot in there. And I said finances, because we're clipping off of ESSA, so we're going to have to really be careful at the financial structure. And my last one was just staffing, meaning retaining and keeping people, teachers and the whole formula.
Okay. Is that everybody, or we missing somebody? Oh, Kevin left, that's right. So those are the things that you said are the main issues facing. So if we were doing a deeper session, I would say there are some qualifications in there that you will be looking for. There's some things you will be top of mind. I would ask you would spend some time to narrow this down to what are those other qualifications. They might not all be other qualifications, right? But this is the start of it, because these are things that you see as key in the next 4 years. Why did I ask about 4 years? It's not your term, it's whose term?
It's the superintendent.
Superintendent, on hire at a four-year contract, right? So that's why I asked about next 4 years. So real quickly, I know you came in with this. It was Stephanie, what did you, the top 3 characteristics? Was somebody ask? No. So next thing, the top 3 needs for the superintendent. Someone asked y'all to come in here with that, right?
The top 3 qualifications.
Top 3 qualifications
that we want.
that you want. So again, you would be doing this in a much longer, deeper session, but we're going to do this. So this were the top 3 issues, because I wanted to hear you talk about the issues before you tell me then what you think are the top 3 qualifications from your perspective, right? So now you're going to give me the top 3 qualifications for the next superintendent in your view. You don't have to do 3, you can even say pass, right? So you got some? Have you thought through it? All right, let's go.
I had one I wanted to add to the issue. I said sustainability, but also innovation as well. We're already so far behind other districts just in the city. For my expectations, I really just had one main one for the next superintendent to have successful experience as a classroom teacher and a successful school administrator.
Okay. Teaching experience and success and school administrator? Okay. An administration experience. All right, who else? Let's make it quick. And your mic too, Michelle. You got it. You're good. You just put at me and we would have understood that.
A strong capacity for monitoring budget for a school district this large. In light of all the changes coming up with ESSER fall off and the new TISA student funding formula.
You got it? Okay. Next. Go ahead.
A strong community advocate.
Okay, community advocate.
I want somebody who's politically savvy.
Okay. Uh-huh. Quickly. Okay. 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 What, so we can check out which one? Which was yours? Budget.
Community connected classroom.
Okay. We moving too fast for you. You got who those? Okay. Amber. Yeah.
These are qualities of, correct? Tell me the prompt again. So
Yeah. What for you important qualities for a superintendent or characteristics or however you want to.
Creative problem solver.
Okay.
The number of things that we see, we can't solve them directly. We're gonna have to pull in people to do that, and create buy-in. So just creative, innovative.
Okay. So ideally, right? You marry that and that. The issues that you see facing. This myriad list of qualifications that gets you the start of a joint. Okay, this is what we want. You can quickly have 2 more, and then I'm moving us. If you got 3 more, you're gonna have to put it on a piece of paper, and we'll get it. I'll move it. Go ahead, quickly.
Someone who's innovative. Someone who isn't afraid of making the hard decisions.
Sure.
Many of us identified retention and literacy. Are we attributing classroom and admin leadership to being is that the correlation?
So
or is it like academic?
So that's what I'm saying. If this was like a 2-3 day retreat, the next thing we do is really get deep into all of this so that you can come up with your list. So that would, for whomever answered that, that's a great question. But that's the deeper work than just listen it here.
I mean,
But yeah.
even if we don't say it now, I think the one thing that we haven't articulated well is how literacy and retention, like, how does that, what is in the profile? Maybe it is school admin and classroom leadership, but it didn't feel as present with it as much as it came up.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so wanted you to talk through that. See how much work this takes. So, wait a minute. Go back. Oh, okay. So, then the other thing I looked at, I say the rubric. I saw the list that that the search firm, I think, had put up to say was the rubric. The only reason why I'm saying rubric because I don't know what's underneath. Like, I don't know what the measures was. And so, but those 16 things are what the search firm used. Over here, though, is what you use to evaluate the superintendent on the last one that I could see. I would ask you to marry those two. Where does what you're evaluating, so you're hiring someone and you're going to be evaluating them in a year, how are what you already evaluate showing up in what you're looking for? So that's that, you know, if you know, the time I knew 3 hours wasn't going to be enough. Like, that's a whole exercise in and of itself, right? That I still think your clear next step is to come together again to really do this work, because you got to figure out is what you want showing up already in your rubric. And you can look across some, and yeah, but I will also offer that in your evaluation, you weight things. So in the 16, are all those things equal? Or is student achievement, like you said, student achievement is 30% of what you measure. Is it equal over here, though, in the hiring of the person? Or is it weighted? Like, those are things that part of the other qualification that would have need to be done so that you can be really clear. And then the other thing, and you have it, and I really wanted you to take some time. So on that community plan, there was a piece in it, if you look at it, because this is some homework you're going to still have to do. The plan is very detailed and gives a lot of depth and information. It was beautifully done where there's an at a glance section that I would have asked you to look at and say, react, and I want the positive reaction, like from you. Look at that, and what are the pieces that you're like, yeah, this is aligned. So this is aligned with what I said we need in the next 4 years, and what I said I want in the superintendent, and between the rubric and the evaluation, these things are aligned, right? Again, something that you still would need to do. And after that rich conversation, we will come here. And this is what I'm saying. To me, and I want you to push me because I want to make sure, to me, here is where this is the rub for you. So where do you go from here? And what are your options to getting to the next thing? So one is status quo. You can decide everything that happened up today is fine. We don't need to make any changes. We're going to start interviewing. That's an option for you. You can also say, we're going to keep the rubric as it is, but we actually want to add additional finalists from the current pool. That's an option. You could say we're going to keep the current rubric, but we actually want to open the pool to new applicants, which means you're opening up the opportunity and you'll have finalists and you'll figure out what that means for you. You could also say we're going to edit the rubric, right? The rubric as was doesn't reflect, if we had done this deeper work, the evaluation form, the vision, the strategic things, and all of these other things, this phase 2 of policy 1002. If you edit the rubric, you would have to re-rate because you got to have equity. You got to have everybody rated on the same rubric. So you could re-rate your current pool, select finalists from that. You could also edit the rubric, open the pool to, and that edit the rubric just for the current pool, or you can edit the rubric, open up the pool to new applicants, still select finalists, or you can say, forget it, we're going to throw it all away and start over. Like, those are all your options. Now, I kept thinking, I would welcome anybody. Is there another option that's not up there that you could think of? But this is after you have actually done the phase 2 of the qualifications. I also think that there's options up there that you could still be in a position to say, we're on a timeline to say we're going to have a superintendent by X date. But it's some tough decisions you got to make to get there. And I think as you're coming up on 6 more minutes left of the time you had today, unless you're planning to stay later, you got more work. It was, till 4, that's right. Oh, I'm necessarily rushing us. So I'm going to go back. Because I do, that's right, thank you. Because I want to go back. The work I really wanted you to do, and we're going to come to this, because I'm going to try to push you to decide on this. Because this is what determines what your timeline is, right? Like, this is what determines your timeline, and that's why I kept saying if we can get to it, you'll see, because that is also going to determine how you decided to handle, how you have, that action will be then the pick additional qualification. Whatever you do here will be the action of you picking the additional qualification. That this would be the time when you have stated from the board, this is what we're going to do, and your owning of the process. So thank you for that. I was getting out. So on the mission and vision, right? And I would say, so why don't you take 5? Come back at 3. And what we're going to do is really dig into these last few slides. I really do want you to manipulate, the list that you had in the rubric. I want you to manipulate looking at your own evaluation, looking at that community plan. And for you, I'm asking you to do this for you first. Where do they marry, right? I'm looking for where do you see alignment, and what is we could do these things and help us get forward, right? That will then answer back to those options that I just gave you. You got it? So that's going to be some deep work I'm going to ask you to do, but you're only going to have about 15 minutes to do that deep level work. But go take a break. Really do come back. Thank you for letting me reminding me that we had another hour. That's good. So we can do that, because I really want you to look at the rubric, the evaluation, the community plan, and figure out in all of that. I think there's an answer for you on, and what you just went through, on what's most important and what you want in a superintendent. It's going to be personal work first, and then we're going to come together and see how far we can get. All right? All right. Take a break.
us know our shapes, sizes, colors, and letters, but it's time to keep trending up. Let's learn to read.
The MSCS Literacy Commitment, formerly referred to as the third grade commitment, is a collaborative effort between schools, parents, and communities. It's a promise to work together to best help Memphis-Shelby County School students reach reading readiness. In the new literacy commitment, the focus expands beyond third grade, and the district is monitoring and supporting student success. Striving students will get the additional support they need through resources like Summer Learning Academy, small group tutoring, specialized intervention, and more. We can't do this work alone.
Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need a lot of help. But what we need the most is your commitment. Hat on a shelf, coat on a hook, fish in a pan, ready to cook.
This work will require all of us at school and at home to achieve our goals through the MSCS Literacy Commitment.
Will you commit? Will you commit?
MSCS is trending up, and we must all see ourselves in the role of supporting our students towards reading readiness.
So thank you. So I'm just bringing you back, and you're going to have some time to independent work, but I need you to do it so that we can really fully kind of, at least as fully as we can in a 15-minute kind of speed dating kind of way. But these last few things that we've talked about and digested. So the vision and the strategic initiatives, the core values as stated. That one side represents what was in the rubric. That side represents your evaluation, the superintendent evaluation. You have the community plan, and then we also went through where you shared, and I'll bring them over here so you could see it. I would sit it right here, where you shared three things, right? Three things you see facing the district, or I shouldn't say three things you see facing the district, and then also what you see as qualifications from your vantage. So I just want you to, manipulating all of those things, navigating all of those things, go through, and for you, this is a personal exercise, for you, what sticks out as most important, what sticks out as these are the things that we need to make sure we are including in our process. These are the qualifications we need to be asking about. And you could decide it's all there or it's not here, right? That's up to you. I'm not here to make that decision for you. But is there any question, confusion about what I'm asking you to do? It's like taking all of those things, the vision, the statements you've made, the things you just said, your own evaluation, the rubric, and really what you're really trying to see is the rubric that we were given. Is it perfectly aligned? Is it completely unaligned? Do I want to keep it? Do I need to change it? Is it going to guide us to where we need to go? Because that's the thing. Because that's the question like y'all asking about policy, what you're asking about really is, do we have what we need in that thing? Y'all confused? So I'll tell you what then. Because now I realize you might not even do the work. Let's do this. That vision. Is that the vision? Does that vision speak to, as you personally, does that vision speak to you? As you're thinking about hiring a superintendent? Hmm? So let me ask you, this is an interesting phenomenon that I've heard twice now. Are you all separating yourself from the district? You think it's two different entities? Like you think there's the board and then there's the district? Like I keep hearing that's theirs. Like who is the they? I really want to push it because I've heard it twice. So I want to hear about that because it's concerning. So I want to hear, I really want to, where does that come from? Because I've heard it there, or like the Attorney General is their attorney, Attorney General, General Counsel. Let's talk about that. Let's unpack that because it's one entity, right? Y'all the board of this $2 billion corporation. Like you can't separate a board from the entity. So and y'all are at the head of it. So because that's probably another conversation. So yeah.
So I missed the commentary around the general counsel, but as it relates to the vision, if I was to change slightly what I heard, it would be that the board should be a part of setting the vision. That again, so when I started the conversation, it was about have we been a part of setting the strategic planning and the vision and the goals of the district to align around a common purpose.
Now that I get, but what I'm offering you is, have you sat in a room and said that's not the vision, we're going to change it? That's the practice that I'm saying to you, right? That's the kind of thing that get you together to say, and this is what we think this district is about. In lieu of doing that and understanding that you got a decision to make that's fairly, it's urgent enough, right? What you get to do now is to decide, is this guiding you as you think about the superintendent that you need? And if it's wholly inefficient, then that's work that you need to do. If this is the vision intact, is it showing up in your process so far? Does that vision show up in what you have gotten to date in your superintendent search? So if you were today, right now, to say our process was perfect, does that align with that vision? It's okay if you don't know. I don't know the answer to it. It said we'll be the premier school district. District is spelled wrong.
There's nothing wrong with the vision. I objectively think that's something positive to aspire to.
Okay.
But some of that sort of attracting a diverse student population, because of the state we're in, we don't control some of those things. There's some of those like it doesn't feel like it goes far enough. That's my gut reaction to it, but I don't disagree with anything of it.
Okay. And then those strategic priorities, you think those are the priorities, that's what it is. Does your process right now get you a candidate, a pool that could bring about those 3 strategic initiatives? I mean, I don't know the answer to it. Yes, no, maybe. I'll move on. Is that hard? Is that a hard question? Y'all don't know? I mean, it's work. That's what I'm saying. This is work. It's hard to do it when you got 15 minutes, right, to do it. But that's part of the work. That's part of once you make this selection, need to do that work. Same thing with those core values, right? Since these are the core values, you just want to make sure that they are actually showing up in how you are making this decision about your next superintendent. I will say though, that rubric, that evaluation form, do they marry, how they marry, would you, if you were going back to tell, like you have to leave here and say something to your search firm. And you're either telling them you were perfect or we want to make some edits. Like you got to make that decision. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know who you're expecting to make that decision. You have got to make that decision and you got to decide, what are you saying? Are you ready to interview or are you ready to do something else? And I don't know the answer to that. And the only way you can make that is to actually make a decision about what we have is good. And I'm just trying to give you things on which to measure against that. And so I don't know the answer to that for you. Again, I'm trying to give you the time to think through that now and not have to do that out loud before you're ready. You will do it out loud, but I'm just giving you the time to do that. Michelle, were you getting ready to say something?
I just want to clarify. So are you asking, like, now, do we think the rubric is as it should be moving forward, or what exactly are you?
So I'm asking you to, and now all of these things that you've done, you've created some artifacts here, right? You've shared some thoughts, and now this is personal because you haven't really, you first got to get to you. If I'm sitting here, based on what I just said are the things that are most important, based on what I know is now, squaring on the vision, those core values, what I said I think is important in the superintendent, the process that I have now, does that get me to what I think we need? Or do we need other decisions? And so, because what you have expressed is that you haven't, as a board, taken any action, just giving you some kind of foundation on which to take some kind of action. So, so you don't have time to start over with core values, right? You don't have time to do all of that. I guess you can take whatever time you need. I shouldn't have said that. You take whatever time you need to do whatever you want to do. It's your work. And so that's your rubric, that's your evaluation. You could also not look at any of these things and decide. And then you have in your packet what the community shared with you. So you have lots of things that you could come together to say, hey, I think we need to do this, or I think we already did this.
I would like to see how they're rated.
How we're rated?
How the rubric is rated.
So I don't have that. Did you get that from the, so did you tell the search firm, I want to see how the rubric is rated? So does everybody have that information or no? I don't, so I really don't know what you have or don't have.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
We didn't get the.
Again, what I'm trying to get you to is talk about a process. What gets you to where you're trying to be, not what. And I know it's hard not to think about who's already in the process, and I get that. Right now, what you're acknowledging is that you didn't do step 2, and I'm trying to get you to find a way to do step 2. Right now, only thing you're trying to do is establishment of additional qualifications, criteria, or some board-approved equivalent. And so all of these artifacts just get you to, for you, right now it's for you, the board gonna have work to do together, but for you to decide what that could mean, using all of these things, or using none of these things. Because you're trying to get to, I don't know, you're trying to get back to, here are the decisions that you got to make.
I have a clarifying question. The superintendent search was nationwide.
Okay.
That gives a unfair advantage to the folks out of town. Memphis connection.
So then you should be writing, I don't want Memphis connection on it. Like that's what you just decided. And so then when y'all come together, now y'all got different points of view that y'all then will work toward. So if you don't like it, that's what you should be saying.
I want to clarify. Nationwide search.
Speaking of my
Nationwide search. Unfair advantage to the folks who don't live in Memphis.
Are you asking me that question?
Yes, I am.
I think that's an opinion. And I think that you should say, I don't want a nationwide search. I'm really gonna push y'all, like, you gotta do the work. I can't do it for you. You gotta do the work. Like, what do you want? Because y'all have not done this. And now you gotta do it. And I'm asking you to do it individually, so that then you can come together. Now, that don't mean because you say that everybody's gonna agree with that. But until you know that thing, those things that you're saying in your head, now knowing all that you have.
That's why I want to see how each one was rated.
Yeah, I can't. So I want to focus on process though. So really, what the real thing I'm asking you to do is, how do you get to the point where you can make these decisions? That I like what I have. I want to keep the rubric, but I want more people. I want to edit the rubric or whatever. There's a way to get to this. And I think that you need to use that, you need to do that based on some decisions that you're making for yourself before you can make that cumulative decision about where you go. Yes.
The slide with the previous slide, that one. When I'm looking at the search rubric and all those indicators, who came up with that? Was that the search firm?
Yeah, so let me just clarify. You all have not done this work. Y'all are doing it right now though. Like, you're doing it right now. You haven't done it, so you're doing it now. And I'm like, what I'm really asking is, like, what are your desires? I want you each to write out what are your desires. Now, you've gotten, if I wouldn't have come in and just say write them out without you having done these are the 3 things I think are most important for the district, and these are the things I think are important for the superintendent, and then do them outside of some kind of container. So the container, just squaring you around on like your vision and those strategic priorities and those things. Now, based on all that, you got this community plan. Really, for you, for you, what do you think are the qualifications? What do you think should have happened? So you could, so if it feels better, you could say, go back to the very beginning. And you're doing this and you haven't hired a search firm. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to know about what you want in a superintendent? So I need you to erase the stuff that's happened, because there's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do about the rubric that has been scored and all of that. But what this answer will then tell you where you are on those decisions. Now, that's hard work. And y'all are really seeming resistant to do that work. And y'all having a hard time just being able to say what you want.
I think we're waiting on you to tell us when to start.
No, I have a question about
I've been trying to get you to start.
I have a process question though, because you mentioned process, and looking at these indicators up here that was on the existing rubric, my question is, when we had our one-on-ones with the search firm, it was my understanding that we already gave them our expectations, what we desired for the next superintendent, and then they were supposed to create the rubric around the board expectations based on information that they captured from our meetings. The disconnect for me is I don't see anything up there that I said as far as expectations. So when we're talking about process, I feel like we did the process to a certain extent, because the search firm, they connected with each board member, got feedback, and they were supposed to create the rubric around that. I don't believe that happened all the way, which was my surprise when I saw the rubric, because it's not what was shared.
So what you're trying to do now is to say, starting today, search firm, this is what I need you to do. So you might be right. So if there were 20 things that you told them to do and you don't see them, you should be putting that on a piece of paper, because you said, I don't see this here.
But as far as the process, I thought that was the process. So my question is, why didn't they do it? I guess it was a question for the search firm. Why wasn't that done originally? Because that was the expectation.
So here's the challenge. The search firm, though, cannot hire the superintendent for you. So right now, today, we're saying all kinds of mistakes were made. So they didn't. But you got to give them a new charge. Because they didn't do, if you think they didn't do what you asked them to do, you got to give them something to do.
But we did.
But
I'm so confused. We gave them.
I know, so
do.
what I'm saying, it wasn't clear. They made mistakes. They made a mistake. Somebody made a mistake. Today, though, so what I want you to do, go back to the day before that you told them that one-on-one. Go back to that one-on-one and pretend it didn't happen, and now it's getting ready to happen. And you're getting ready to tell them what you want in the superintendent and what you expect to show up there.
It's frustrating and irritating.
Of course it is.
We already did this.
So Shalia, so here are your other options to say, I don't want to do this, and I'm fine with what they did, and I don't want to change the thing that they did. Like that, you have an option to do that too. So what I'm saying, I'm going to stop talking. I really want those of you who are willing, I just want you to write out, is this representative of what you want? If it's not, then you should write out what that is. And I get it's frustrating. It is. I know it's frustrating. But clearly they didn't do what you asked them to do. So you should be having a page full of stuff.
But there's a why behind it, and I want to know why.
That I can't answer, and that wasn't the charge for today either. It was for you all to figure out. I'm going to take you back to what you said. Y'all said you want to get clear on the process moving forward. So what we do know is there's some disagreements about whatever happened. What's clear for some, they didn't do what they were asked to do. There's some who think they did, and for some who think they did, you know what they're going to say? I wouldn't change a thing. I think they did exactly what I asked them to do. Some of you are going to say they did 2% of what I asked them to do, so here's the other things that I want them to do. And so this is the hard work that should have been done, I want to be honest, that wasn't, that we're asking you now to take the leap and do it. And now I'm just saying on your own, and then at some point collectively, you could come together and put all of that up and then say, oh, together this is what we're saying that we want to do. So I hear your frustration. I can't fix that though. I don't know how to go back and tell them, but if you were having a conversation with them, you'd be telling them you didn't do blah, blah, blah. I'm just asking you, what is that blah, blah, blah? I don't know what it is.
I told them.
I know, but now tell the piece of paper.
So, so thinking ahead around accountability, because for me, we've done this. I'll speak for myself. I've done this. I told the search firm what my expectations were in our next superintendent, with expecting them to put it in the rubric and use it. That did not happen clearly. So moving forward, what does accountability look like? Because there was a disconnect somewhere that led us here.
So that's also a board decision, but you're not going to get there if you don't know what you want to tell them to do. You got to still tell them something. And the something could be, the something is, I love what you did, make no changes. Or, I hated what you did, and we're burning it all up and starting over. Unfortunately, your choices are limited. So, you can't go back to what they didn't do. But if you want to, if you're trying to get a process to move forward, you got to do something. And that's what I'm asking you to do right now, is the something.
But I'm still confused because, and I hate to keep going back.
So what I'm going to do,
but moving forward, I'm still going to tell them to do the same thing. I'm still going to give them the same expectations.
Yeah, but that's another decision point. So that's another decision point. So that's, remember I said we got multiple decision points? Mm-hmm. The first decision point is this one. Is what they did okay? How would you change this? And determining how you would change this gave you lots of things to rely on for what you just said you wanted for changing this. The next step is, how do you get from changing this to the search firm doing something different? You got a bunch of options in that too. But you can't get there until you know if you're actually getting ready to ask what you're going to ask them to do or what you want to do. So there's a bunch of steps, and we can't skip them. So honestly, we're in trouble. We're where we were now because we skipped steps. And so we got to step back and do this hard work of what your policy phase 2 and your superintendent qualifications called on you to do. Take action in a board-approved equivalent or not, and additional qualifications or not. So you're either saying, and what you're saying is, no, I wanted to do these things. You just need to put that back on the table to say, this is how we correct. Like right now, you're trying to correct what hasn't happened so you can get to the point where you can have a superintendent. Yeah, I'm going to take a couple more, and then I'm really going to force y'all to just stop talking to us and write out what you think. Does that need to change? or does it stay? And I'm really going to push you and force you to have to make that decision
To
for
make a-
yourself. Wait a minute, let me go to Amber and then, Michelle, are you talking or not? Amber, Keith, and then Michelle.
We all individually talked to the search firm, but what we didn't do is come back together and say, we didn't share our thoughts with one another. Because
Right.
you very well could have said things that I
Right.
go, that's a great idea. I can't believe I didn't think about that. And so for me, it sounds like that if we're looking on what to do next, at
Yes.
a minimum, we are in the edit phase. Like, it's clear that it deserves a conversation to be opened up, whether we go to the length of starting over, but we do. It's clear that there's something amiss.
Yes.
And so we need to figure out what that is. And
Yeah.
maybe we actually do have a majority, but we didn't have a conversation. So I think.
And that's what I'm saying, like you haven't had that conversation. So if the search firm had multiple conversations, the search firm may very well think, I took the distillation of what I heard, but it wasn't what you wanted. Because what you didn't do is have the multiple conversations and then say to the search firm, this is what we want. You empowered the search firm to assume, I would say, or conclude what you wanted. What you're saying now, that wasn't good enough. Now you got to go back to and say, I am the search firm that you're hiring and you're about to meet with me in 10 minutes. What are you telling me? That's what I'm asking you to do right now. I am the search firm and you're about to meet me in 10 minutes. What are you individually telling me you want to show up as they look for your next superintendent? Can I cut that off and go ahead, Keith?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead and do that. It's 10 minutes is not a long time, but that's the 10 minutes I want to give you, okay? Yeah, but you got some work to do before you get to that, but yes. Right now you just, what do you want? you still need to do, because there's several more steps from that to still ultimately where the board wants to go. But I am gonna, 15 minutes left, I do want to push you to make a decision for you, right? Board still got to make a decision. You're not in a board meeting, right? So board still got to make a decision. And I first want to go back through these, and then I want to make sure, because I tried to map it out. I did decision trees and tried to map out everything from where you are to where you have to go. But I really did think that this was one of the key decisions that you're going to have to make. And so, as I see them, you status quo, where you have at this point is fine, and you're just ready to move on. The other two options are your rubric is fine, but you want to add additional finalists only from the current pool, or you want to open it up, your pool, to new applicants for limited time. You have to think about what that looks like. The other two options was, nope, you want a different rubric. You want a different consideration. And then you would have to re-rate. Even if you said new rubric, same pool, you need to re-rate based on your new rubric. Or you edit your rubric and still open up to new applicants. Or your nuclear option is you start all over. So now I want you to think through what you just wrote for yourself, and the decision that you just come with yourself about what you would think is next. What I want you to do is pick an option. Now I'm going to ask you to pick this option, but what I don't want is you to be fully influenced by groupthink. So I'm going to ask you your initials on a piece of paper and pick an option, and then I'm going to take it and I'll share you where you are, because I think when you leave here you need to know how far you're apart or how close you are. I ask that you do this personal for yourself. It is no right or wrong answer. It is your choice, but put your initial and pick a choice, and then we'll spend the last minutes to say that means the timeline is this, and we have to go to it. Don't be colluding on your choices. I know. You can tell me. She can tell me. Yeah. It's 1 through 6. Yeah, you don't have to write all that. Just 1 through 6. You can tell me.
.47. It's quite impressive.
All right. So, all right. You telling? Oh, I can't read I can't see the, oh, is that you? That's you. All right. So, we have Joyce at number 5. That's edit rubric and open pool. Okay. We have Shalia, 5. Edit rubric, open pool. Is that Amber? Oh, Althea. I can't see. I saw A. Althea was, and I'm sorry for using your first name, but that's how I know y'all. At number 2, keep current rubric, but add additional finalists from the current pool. That's Amber. Amber is start over. Keith is start over, right? I'm reading that right. Number 6, start over. This is fancy. That's Frank. Yes. That would be 4. Yes. Edit rubric, re-rate current pool. And Michelle was 5, which is edit rubric, open to new. Did I miss one? Oh.
The difference between 5 and 6.
Well, 6 means you pick a new firm. You start all over. So
5 for me.
5. Okay, I'm gonna say because yeah. Okay, so edit rubric, open new pool, select finalists. Dang. Yeah, Stephanie said I meant 5. And Stephanie was 5. Stephanie was edit rubric, open pool to new applicants. Yeah. Go ahead.
So on number 5, you said edit the rubric.
Well, so that's when remember I said there's a series of decisions. That's the next decision. Like that's another decision to make, right? Like because you could open to new, you could ask new people. So the only reason why I would say on the if you decided to edit and you decided to open is because you may have thought, oh, now that we're clear, there might have been candidates that would have applied that didn't. Doesn't mean, and you could still say the people who in it.
So on that, I would have been a 5. I just wasn't clear.
Yes. So that's still so again, I want to make it clear. Guess who owns every decision? Y'all can do whatever you want to do. You just got to get clarity on what it is you want to do and what you're trying to do. Now, what no one said was status quo. Nobody said we got all we need and let's move forward. Nobody said that, right? That was one of the main things, right? So, as you have like 10 minutes left, you do have some decisions to make. There was lots of movement around edit the rubric. I would say this decision is so important you don't just want to take a majority, like you want to sit down and deal with that. And so what we didn't do was have you speak to what you put on that paper, right? We didn't have you speak to because we're at time. If we were taking a break and had 2 more hours, we would get to that today. So I'm saying you agreed on something. Give yourself a hand. You said status quo is not it. You agreed on something. That's a decision. So you should be happy about that. The tougher work is moving forward. What does that mean? Because that didn't just say you just made a decision that you're getting ready to do. I think you had majority was on number 5. You had the most people said edit the rubric, open the pool to new. That's what you got to. You got to now go and deal with that. Like, is that the thing that you're going to do? And what does that mean? And so, so I also want to say, you still can articulate a timeline, right? You might not be today, but if you were ambitious, you could still do that and have a superintendent in 8 weeks if you wanted to be ambitious. You could. You absolutely could. You could also do that and be like, it's going to take us a whole nother school year. I don't know your answers. What I'm saying is you got to do the work. And no one can tell you that works. People can help you and people can, give you support to getting to that decision. So one decision sounds like you got to seriously make today is when you're going to meet again. And I don't know if that's a board meeting because you're now trying to get to these options. I mean, you still have some people who, somebody said 2 and somebody said 4. Oh, 2 is gone, so you're now at 5. Okay. Okay, so.
I was going to say, no one voted for keep current rubric.
Okay. And so then the other piece is, right, there's a process for that, right? It could just be you decide there's some tweaks, or it could be major, right? And now you're going back to the search firm to say they have more work to do, or whatever you're doing. I don't know what you're going to do on that, but you got to meet, and I think you should meet like sooner than later, because now you know that meeting would be, what are the things you just wrote, right? Go back to all these things that I asked you to consider lightly today, get more time where you really dig deep in all of these things, that rubric, the evaluation, your own evaluation, the community plan, the vision, the strategic initiatives, whatever is whatever vision you're working on, and say, these are the things that we need in the superintendent to make this vision that we have of this district come true. That's the most important decision. I will say to you, that decision, like, I know that people have been grinding on, do we stop or do we pause and all of that? That's not the decision. The decision is, what is the thing that get me to the most effective and impactful superintendent? And that's the thing that you must do against any other pressure. Like, you got to figure that out, right? And so I would say, you need not tarry on this, but you can't unnecessarily rush, because you got work to do. And you've acknowledged that there's work that, for whatever reason, didn't happen, right? And I would just put it on all of y'all to say all of y'all are at fault for that, right? Like, everybody is at fault for that. Because there is not one board member who's more powerful than any other. And as I told you, in your individual capacity, you are nothing. Takes 5 of y'all. So everybody. So today, can we own that everybody has something? When I ask you about what do you contribute to I kind of said good and bad, own that. And let's leave that. And then let's not move forward. And you just made a key decision that you want a new rubric. Now you got to sit down and put all this stuff in the salad bowl and come out with your new rubric. And then, where Shalil was trying to say, and then what's the accountability, right? So then what does that mean? Do you need so I don't know, is this a retreat committee or a search committee? Like, do you need a committee of the board that's moving and working with the community to move these things forward? Like, there's some decisions that I think you just need another meeting. I hate to say that to you, but you just made a key decision. And I think in the next meeting, what you have to do is now massage, what does that mean? You're sitting between 5 and 6. What does that mean? And what are the really key steps to get you? I think in the next meeting, you can decide what the rubric looks like, what you want the search firm to do, and what the timeline is. So for example, if y'all decided on the open to new applicants, that don't mean you throw out your current pool. You're just saying giving other people opportunity to join if they want to. Up to you, right? You can say we got a 30-day window that we're opening it up again where people can apply. It's all up to you, but you got to make those decisions. It's not gonna happen for you. Yes.
What do y'all want to do? Minute or less?
Well, first I want to leave at 4. Secondly, I think we do have to have another series of meetings. I think you have to figure out what is our strategic vision for the district. Take all the sausage making, what everybody wants to see in the next superintendent, bring in a consultant, hopefully Ms. Hart is back, Ms. Hart Wigginton, and then, again, align around our common goals. Take the person in your head that's going to require 6 people to support, take that person out of the way, and decide on what you want for the district. That person will come, but that work has to happen around what do you want. And colleagues, whoever raised it about the rubric, give yourself some credit. The community, give them some credit. That search firm was not bringing a rubric on Saturday if you hadn't asked for it. Let's be honest. We got that rubric on a Saturday when we heard who the finalists were. You had no reason beating up on yourselves because we did not know anything about their process. Ms. Hart, I apologize. I'm revisiting history, so I'll stop. But let's align around a common vision for the district. The person will come.
Board member, oh, I'm sorry, we're jumping in.
Meeting two.
That's meeting two? Yeah. And the reason I asked that is because when the man came to present the rubric
Beyond
to
task.
us. Pardon?
Again, y'all have to own all the decisions. I don't go into that conversation now. That's another decision. So what you do know is that you want a new rubric. In that meeting, you're gonna edit the rubric. Nobody voted to keep the rubric. Like, nobody voted for that. So I'm saying, so that's the one thing that you do know. The other thing that you know is that you need a meeting, and I would say sooner than later. Like, if you can't decide today when that meeting's gonna be, y'all need to be committed that y'all are gonna get doodle or whatever it is, and y'all need to go ahead and I would say, dare say, plan out next 3 meetings just on this. And at each meeting, so square away what does edit rubric or whatever mean. That's a meeting. What's the process for getting that to search firm or whatever other decision about the search firm? That's a meeting, and then timeline. And so all of those, so what you tend to do there, if you said 5, keep current pool, that's a shorter timeline than open up window, right? So I'm saying, that's why I said it's a series of decisions that you gotta make. So now you gotta pick one of those. Because the retreat just picked it. The board hadn't picked anything. What this retreat allowed you to do in a very open public meeting, signal where the board wants to go. Now you have that signal, now go do that work. And so you need to, I would say, you'll need to really quickly do probably retreat style, but note it as a meeting so you can take a vote. So that you can actually vote. Because you have to, so that way you can say, here are the decisions we're making, and then the public know you're voting on whatever. At the 3rd meeting, you're voting on this, and what, second, third, but I would prepare for 3 meetings, and for everybody just said, I'm busy, yep, like my daddy said, no one told you to pull this ticket, like this is the work, so y'all gotta, like, I would say over the next 2 weeks, y'all should be trying to get this nailed down and say you might need 3 more meetings, and not 3 1-hour meetings. You need to give yourself the time and space, because what you didn't just share is what each one of you mean by edit rubric. And so it's not just a hodgepodge of stuff. It's not enough that you just put stuff on the paper. Now you got to work through the tensions on what that means and come up with one voice on what that means about the rubric. And it's not like you're not completely starting from scratch. It's not like you don't have anything. I mean, there's things that was in your evaluation that's on the rubric, right? So this work might not be as hard as you're thinking it is, but it's still work that you got to do. So could you commit to, by Monday, there's a doodle coming, I'm sorry. Oh no, which one of y'all? One of the chair or the board chair or the or retreat chair, superintendent chair? But I'm saying that there is a way for you all to, by Monday, have sent out dates that you all can coalesce around. And I would say plan for 3 to get to the next. And the first one is, what do you mean by that? And I would do at least 2, but because you're going to make them single kind of decisions that you need to make. So no less than 2, but give yourself the 3.
Requesting to go. Kevin is requesting.
No. I'm saying we know we have 3 meetings. The quicker you wrap up, the quicker you can send that information out to us.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, so your next step, so your clear next step. So again, you accomplished something. You made a decision. You knocked out everything about the current rubric, and the other decisions that you're going to need, you're going to at least plan ahead for your next 3 meetings, and that whomever is responsible for that will send that out for options, asking you for options. So think about your availability and prepare to be meeting and get that set up and scheduled at least Monday.
Who's going to be responsible? Are we making a decision who's going to be responsible for that? Like, who says that? Love and Coleman?
Oh no, this is Kevin's like no.
Because we got to look at work calendars. Monica, it's not possible. Let's just be patient. Let's get the dates out.
I don't want us to be quick. I want us to be clear.
Right.
Yep.
Before we leave here.
Yep.
Who's going to do what when we walk out of this door?
Monica is going to poll everyone this evening, no later than Monday, what 3 dates to start giving dates so we can have our next meetings.
Okay.
What's going to happen today? Monica is going to poll.
Okay.
Okay? That way we'll know when we start.
Okay.
All right.
And question, these meetings are going to be outside of our normal board meetings, right? Okay.
So she already told me I had to. So.
Yeah, so, right. So I want to point of privilege to thank you publicly for being here with us. We appreciate that. Monica, I think our newest board member raised a very good point, Mr. Johnson. There's nothing preventing you from aligning those meetings on the same date that you have board meetings. So if we're going to already be here, they're open to the public. And I like driving up here, less than more, if that's possible. All right, is that fair? All right.
All right.
Evan, we have work session this Tuesday, but we also have audit, budget, and finance committee meeting because we didn't have it last week. That's the only reason we can't do it this week.
I have a question. Can all board members get a copy of the cost that are associated with all these additional meetings? A cost.
I use regular unleaded, so it's not as expensive for my car. But you know what, I've survived without getting on your vest. I apologize. I retract this statement.
What do you mean?
So that's a meeting you should ask in a board meeting, and
Yeah.
the board can respond.
Okay.
Thank you to the public, and especially my board members, and especially Tamika Hart. We are going to get this process done.